Morning, guys. It's been a couple weeks since my last video and about my story, and I figure I would keep going. And just again, I want to say thanks for everybody who's subscribed to the YouTube channel, and everybody who's made comments and a lot of positive feedback. Not just the videos for my story, but also again the different cooking and baking videos, and then a lot of the shorts that I do where I'm playing guitar, or again posting some stuff from going out and riding in the wheelchair down by the park, by the river, and around the neighborhood and stuff. And so it's been fantastic. Just a couple of days ago, the channel got over 100,000 views. That's for all the videos and in total, and so it's been just a good, again, it continues to be a good positive way for me to spend my time, because I've got a lot of that, and I don't want to just be staring at the screen or sitting there bored, especially during the winter months where I'm more cooped up, and it's something good to stay busy with. So again, thanks for everybody that supports it. And speaking of support, the last video I'd done was, continuing on about some particularly hard times shortly after I'd been home, where we are still fighting against the monopoly and the bureaucracy that is MPI, and the love and support and sort of surprising amount of generosity, I guess, from people that I know and from people that I don't know. Was just, well, it was a light in some pretty dark times, to sound cheesy, but it was fantastic. And we're getting attention from the story, applying pressure, fighting back, because against MPI, because unless you want to bend over and take it up the ass without a fight, you've got to stick up for yourself, and sometimes it takes more than just an individual or one person. It takes people outside of our family. It took people outside of our family to be there for us, for which we continue to be forever grateful, and would be absolutely lost without the help. And so while we're getting a lot of support, we're still having part of the fight with NPI is, footing the bill for things that I need, things that are medically required, things that I need, that my family needs, for me to have the best possible life at home that I can, regardless of how drastically different it is, what I've lost. But I still have to remain thankful for what I can still do, and I was. One of the biggest surprises of this whole time was just so out of the blue, nothing that we asked for, nothing that we could have expected. But these two wonderful women, one of whom I knew fairly well. I had worked with her on a GP shift, a uniform shift, for a brief time a handful of years ago. And the other one I'd probably run into over the years at a local watering hole, but it had been a long time, and I didn't know the person fairly well. And from back in those days, I may have met the person, but might not have remembered for whatever reason. But these two people who are good, close friends got a hold of me one day and asked if they could throw a fundraiser for us, me and my family. And I don't know how to explain it other than shock and surprise, um, because these are two people who are outside of my normal or regular social circle, um, and it was something um, that they came up with. It was their idea. It was their project, their vision, their goal. Because like a lot of other people who supported my family and I, they hated what was being done to us, and they wanted to help. It's because it was a good cause, and they just couldn't stand what was being done to me, to us. And most people who have had experiences with MPI will tell you that this isn't the first time that a collision victim has been horribly mistreated. If there ever was an organization with systemic issues, which is a word that is just fucking thrown all over the place nowadays, it's MPI. And these two knew it, and they wanted to do something about it and help us. This was a battle worth fighting, and we never could and still can't do it on our own. But the battle goes so much more in your favor when you've got good people helping you. I had another good friend of mine, the kid, who initiated a GoFundMe at the very beginning, I think within a day or two of the collision, which was just such an essential and immediate means of support. And now it's, almost a year later, and I've got these two people who are taking time out of their own lives. Both of them are gainfully employed and have their own lives, and they're getting a fundraiser going. They came to our house and we had some coffee and baking, and was just overwhelmed with thanks, and I'm still so grateful to this day to the both of them. So thank you again. I think what a lot of people don't know or don't realize that starting a fundraiser is a shit ton of work. It takes a lot of time. Making it successful, going out and making contacts for fundraising prizes. A lot like a social in a way. I think that they would probably agree. But this isn't something that they can just do on their own, but they're doing the bulk of the legwork, and they're going out and getting support through work, through contacts or who are already a part of my story, like our legal firm that's representing us, and getting tickets made and getting an event location, and they got local chefs to cook meals, brisket, macaroni and cheese, and stuff like that, and people donating their time to work at this thing to make it happen, on top of living their normal lives and working their jobs, taking time off on their days off to make this thing happen for us, because they didn't like what was happening to us, and they knew that we still needed help, and every single thing that we needed and were asking for, much of it at that time was cost that we still had to put up front, and fight for reimbursement and wait for reimbursement. And so, and you're selling tickets and getting support to get people to come to this thing. And this was in the, I remember correctly, the April, after I'd been discharged in January of 24. And there was an astonishing, so the day comes, while they're, and in between then they're running around getting prizes and selling tickets and promoting this thing, the two of them. And the day comes, and there were two parts to the event. One earlier in the day for, young families with kids, and then a second one later in the evening where it would be less appropriate for children to be there in terms of what was said, and in terms of adults relaxing and having a few pops. And it was just such a huge, amazing event, and I was extremely humbled by the amount of people there. People who I was close to at work, people who were my friends, people who I'd worked with before, and then some people that I just sort of barely knew through work, the kind of people that I would just, recognize in passing and say hello to. These were people who set aside time to come and support me and my family, and it was just, it was wonderful. And the prizes were wonderful. Golf clubs, and booze, and Jets memorabilia, and Jets tickets, and people worked their asses off to get those donations. And there were a lot of businesses and business organizations, who contributed to the cost of this thing, whether it was through taking care of food or getting prizes and that sort of thing. And many of them, I've never met and I'll never know, but I'm thankful to all of them for their time and effort. And one thing that I found particularly touching was the amount of old partners of mine that were there. And there were some beautiful ones that I had at the beginning of my career while still on probation and shortly after graduating, that I never would have expected, because you kind of lose, it never would have expected to come, because you kind of lose touch over the years. It's just sort of the natural way of things, and some people you stay close to, and some people you just met, and some you haven't seen for a long time. But it means a heck of a lot when an old partner of yours shows up. And I had a few that were there, and that kind of support was just wonderful. It was great to see some familiar faces and some old faces, and get some good hugs in there, and a wonderful meal and a wonderful band that came and played. Another thing that, people that donated their time or took their time and to make this happen, all of it, playing a part in the success of this event. There was no orgy, but everyone made it happen, and all the people that were there made it successful, whether they were serving or cooking the food or what have you, or working the door. And again, it was a lot like a social. And if you're from Manitoba, you'll know what those are like, and how much work goes into them. And I had the opportunity to give about a 5 or 6 minute speech during the course of it, because I just had to. When people go out of their way to help you, it must be acknowledged. and I hope that what I said rang true, and that it was meaningful to me, because it was meaningful to me. There's an expression in military and in law enforcement where that is often used, and we say it when we mean it, and when you hear it said to you by someone that you have complete confidence in, so that you're able to function through hard times. Well, it really sums up what this event was all about. And it wasn't just a brilliant and meaningful phrase. It was perfect for what this was. And that is, we've got your six, which means we've got your back. And that you don't have to worry. We've got you covered. And those two women and everybody else that was there and everybody else that supported in some way sure had us covered. And the amount of money is not important. To me, it was an astronomical sum. I was shocked. But it was exactly what we needed. And it made a world of difference in improving our lives here at home. In terms of accessibility, in terms of enjoyment, and in terms of just making for a healthy, relaxed home. Every single person that was there and said hello, that gave a hug, that worked the door, I can never say thank you enough. And let this video be another reminder of what my family and I will owe you forever. I should also mention that sort of at the beginning of probably about 5 or 6 videos in, and it's been a little bit over a year that I've had this channel. Sort of at the beginning of it, I've got a video just of my speech, and it's titled, "We've Got Your Six." And there's a lot of important things that are said in there, I think. And it kind of gives you an idea as to how meaningful that event was and the amount and which people were there. And I think I forgot to mention, including some retired WPS members that I don't think I'd ever met, that came and said hello and gave me a hug. Gosh, I wish I could remember the one name of this one fella in particular, whose face I can see. I just forget the name, which has nothing to do with age. It's totally a symptom of the collision. But it meant so much to me, and I'll never forget it. Will never forget it. But check out that speech video too, at near the beginning of this channel. It's a good one. It's important. So once again, thank you, and I'll continue to tell my story. There's still a lot to do. It's still ongoing, but it's part of me taking care of myself and continuing to live a good life, which I promised everyone there that I would do, and I've been doing my best. Take good care of yourselves, take good care of each other. Remember that no day at work is more important than a day off. Enjoy your families, look after yourselves physically and mentally, I love you, and we'll see you soon.